Welcome to Speakeasy Spirits. I've been trying to figure out a good Thanksgiving Day cocktail for a while now. Pumpkin spice is so overdone, but I didn't want to do a mashed potatoes and gravy daiquiri. But I think I finally figured out the flavor profile I want for a Thanksgiving Day cocktail. Today we're going to transform a classic Thanksgiving Day side dish into a delicious cocktail. We're going to start by making sweet potato casserole syrup. This is going to combine the flavors of pecans, sweet potato, and for that melty marshmallow topping, vanilla. For the pecans, we're going to start by making a homemade orgeat. You may have seen me make a simple orgeat out of almond milk, but this time we're going to start by toasting up our bag of chopped pecans. We're just going to heat these up in a pan, get a little bit of that roasted pecan flavor that you'd get fresh out of the oven on top of your sweet potato casserole. Roasting your pecans first is going to help release a lot of those oils and get that nice roasted nut flavor that we'd be looking for. Now, once these are nicely toasted, go ahead and transfer them into a large container. Those smell fantastic. The next step is to add hot water, just enough to cover them. We don't want to add too much water because we don't want to dilute this. Now we're going to cover this. We're going to leave these out in the hot water for about an hour. Then we're going to move it to the refrigerator for at least another 7 hours, up to 24 hours. It's been 24 hours, and now it's time to finish our pecan milk. We're going to start by measuring how much liquid we got from just the pecans sitting. We're just going to use our blender, and what we're looking for is about twice as much liquid as there was in nuts. We started with about 1.5 cups, so we're going to want 3 cups of liquid. That comes out to about 1.5 cups, so we're going to add enough water to bring us up to 3 cups. Add the softened pecans into your blender. Now we want to blend the pecans to a smooth consistency to finish our pecan milk. We don't need to let that go too long. We're not ever going to get all the solids out of it, so the next step is going to be to strain this. For straining, you're going to want a very wide vessel and something to strain it through. This is a nut milk bag, but you could also use cheesecloth or coffee filters. It'll be very slow, but coffee filter would be a very thorough filter. Now this part's going to get a little messy. You can go ahead and wear some gloves for this, but I'm just going to go ahead and get my hands dirty. And we want to squeeze all of the liquid out of this. Get as much of the milk as we can. Now if you wanted to make a larger volume of this, I would suggest splitting it into batches. As you saw, the 3 cups of liquid and 1/2 cup of nuts pretty much filled the blender. And anything larger than this would be really difficult to strain. We've strained out as much as we can, and what we're left with is a homemade pecan milk. Now you could do this with any nuts, with almonds, macadamia, cashews. Each one adds its own interesting flavor to a cocktail, but as you can see, this was a lot of work. Now I usually take a shortcut and buy an unsweetened, unflavored, high-quality almond milk, add my sugar to it, and that's how I make my orgeat. My orgeats, I usually add a dash of orange blossom water or rose flower water, but in this case, we're making the sweet potato casserole orgeat. So the next step is going to be to puree our sweet potato. I've already roasted the sweet potato until it's soft. Now we're going to throw it back into the blender. And just to add a little liquid to our puree, we're going to add a bit of our pecan milk. And let's get this blending. And then keep adding the milk as it purees. We're eventually going to add the whole thing in there. Let's go ahead and add the rest of the milk. Okay, that's looking pretty smooth. So now we're going to add our sugars. We're going for a 1-to-1 syrup, which would be equal parts sugar to our liquid. So we're going to add an equal amount, about 4 cups, of brown sugar and white sugar. For the vanilla, we're going to want about a tablespoon. It may seem like a little much, but we want to recreate that marshmallow flavor that the classic sweet potato casserole has. And last, we want a pinch of salt. We're going to blend this one more time to combine the sugar. Okay, let's see what we've got. I think we nailed it. It's got the right level of sweetness for a cocktail syrup. The sweet potato adds a little extra sugar, so we're probably more in the range of a 1.5-to-1 ratio of sugar as far as the sweetness goes. There's a nice nuttiness to it from the pecans, and that sweet potato really comes through as a nice fall flavor. And then there's some really nice vanilla notes in there. Nothing here was really too complicated, but it does take some of your time and effort. If you want a shortcut, instead of making your own nut milks, you could just buy a good, high-quality, unsweetened, unflavored almond milk, add an equal amount of sugar to that, and you'll get a fairly good orgeat. Then if you wanted to add sweet potato to that, you could. I'm going to bottle this up and refrigerate it for a little while, and then we'll start thinking about how to use this in a cocktail. I've bottled up our sweet potato casserole syrup, and it actually filled 2 of these bottles. So if you want to make a single batch for yourself, you would use 3/4 of a cup of the nuts, 1.5 cups of water, half a sweet potato, 2 cups of sugar, and about a half tablespoon of vanilla. Now that all the hard work's done, let's enjoy the fruits of our labor. We're going to start with 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. Then to that, we're going to use 3/4 ounce of our sweet potato casserole syrup. For our spirit, I'm going to go with some white rum, but I want a white rum with some age. This is a Denizen 5-year, so we get all the benefits of some age, but we have that clear color that's really going to let us keep this sweet potato shade. 1.5 ounces of white rum. And last, we're going to use a 1/4 ounce of falernum. Falernum is a spiced liqueur. Really, its main ingredient is probably cloves. It's also got some cinnamon. A lot of them usually have some lime peel. It'll be a really nice complement to the sweet potato. Let's add some ice to our tin and shake. We'll strain this into a coupe or Nick and Nora glass. And I'm going to garnish this with some grated nutmeg. I don't have a name for this cocktail yet. If you can think of a good one, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. Oh, that's really delicious. That's a perfectly balanced cocktail. The acid of the lemon really cuts through all of the fats of the pecans and the sweetness of our syrup. The nutmeg and our falernum add some nice baking spice notes. This is really a perfect fall cocktail. Great for Thanksgivings or really anytime. Since the syrup worked so great in that, let's try another one. This one's going to be a variation of a cocktail called Cameron's Kick, which was first published in 1922. We're going to call our version Casserole Kick. And I think this is going to be the perfect Thanksgiving cocktail because it's going to use two very American ingredients, rye whiskey and applejack. This is going to be a shaken cocktail, and we're going to start with 1 ounce of applejack. I'm using Laird's Bottle and Bond. This is a 100 proof, 50% alcohol apple brandy, and it is one of the earliest known distilled spirits in America. And we're going to add 1 ounce of rye whiskey. I'm going to use this Sazerac rye, and again, 1 ounce. Cameron's Kick is normally made with an orgeat or an almond syrup. We're going to use our pecan sweet potato syrup here and 1/2 ounce of it. Because I want our sweet potato casserole syrup to be the star of the show, we're going to add just a 1/4 ounce of lemon for some acidity. Let's make this an egg white cocktail. Now you could add 1/2 ounce of egg white or 1 egg white, or in this case, if you're vegan, vegetarian, or you just don't like eggs in your cocktail, we're going to use some fee foam, about 3 dashes. This is a vegetarian egg replacement in cocktails, and it'll create that nice head of foam. We're going to give this a dry shake. That's a shake without any ice. And we want to shake it for about 10 or 15 seconds. This is going to let it really create that foam on top. Now let's shake that again, this time with ice. This is one of those cocktails that really benefits from a good hard shake because we want that foam. We will double strain this into a coupe glass. The fine mesh strainer is going to catch any shards of ice, and it's really going to let that foam settle on top. A great garnish for this would be a couple of mini marshmallows. Unfortunately, I don't have any, so we're just going to drink this as is. That's really nice. The rye's adding a peppery note and some baking spices, and some nice woodiness is coming from both the rye and the applejack. The fruitiness of the apple combined with the sweet potato, it's a really nice combination. There's a nice creaminess to this from the foam. Using that 100 proof rye, this is a little more spirit forward than our first cocktail, a little more savory and herbal, but still absolutely delicious. Halloween has cocktails like the zombie, Christmas has your boozy eggnogs, but Thanksgiving was really missing its own signature cocktail until now. I think either of these would really work well at your Thanksgiving dinner. It's a little work to get there, but the results are fantastic. I hope you liked the video. If you did, help me out. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you next time.